Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 6. Today, we will be looking at decision making in Python. And so that is the only thing on our outline. But for the decision making, we'll be looking at a few what we call statements. And there is the elif, which is the short form for else if you want to take it that way. And there's also the else statement. So we usually use these statements to make decisions in Python, and we will find out about how to do each of them with code. So let me bring up my Python, and then we'll see how we can use these ones. But what if and booleans and comparison operators as well as logical operators. And so if you did not understand that part well, you'll be able to understand it as we go, but that is what I have to let you know that is what it builds upon, because it has to evaluate conditions to check whether they are true or false. And we'll be using some logical operators to like and or and all those ones to make the decisions. Let me quickly create my file. Okay, so as I said before, the decisions, they build upon our knowledge in booleans and logical operators and comparison operators also. So we found out very soon with some few examples and see. Why this red line? Okay, Python is just trying to correct me with its grammar and spelling stuff. Okay, so what is the if statement? That is the first thing we will explore. It is the basic decision-making structure. And so if a condition is true, the code that is indented inside the if statement, indentation, I'll talk about it very soon. But if a condition is true, then a code runs. That is the basic idea behind the if statement. So if I declare a variable like say age equal to 18, and I now say if, or let me first explain the structure of the decision, the if statements rather. If you want to use the if statement, so if you want to decide, let me put it that way, you have to bring the if followed by some condition, and then you terminate your condition with the colon. When you terminate your condition with a colon and you press the return or enter key, you see that ideally when we press next line, so if I just create a variable here, say var equal to 1, I press the enter key, it takes me to, let me try and zoom into this side. After var equal to 1, I press the enter key, it takes me to the next line, which is line 5. But on this same line, where the cursor is now is the same place where the V starts. But for the if, it wasn't so. If I put my cursor here, let me just bring the numbers to, okay. And I press return or enter, is that it comes in. If you should check it, you see that it's actually 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what is called an indentation in Python. Usually, if another code, like should I say, depends upon the output of another, or another code we say is a code block. So when we say a code block, all those particular codes are under a particular condition like our own here. So all those ones that fall under this particular condition, or those ones which should be rendered if and only if the condition evaluates to true, they are all indented. That means they are not on the same line as the if, but they are brought inside a little bit, which is 4 spaces to the right. And you can also press the tab key to achieve the same effect. So now, if I bring it back, I can press 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes me there. I can also come back and press the tab key, which also takes me to that same position. So after our code has been indented, usually you don't have to do these things. The editor will do it for you. So we see where my cursor is right now. I just press the return or enter key is supposed to bring me, or maybe because there is an error, that is why it is doing so. But ideally to bring me to this side, like you see in most of the examples that will follow. And then here we do whatever we want to do. So if this condition is true, if and only if it evaluates to true, if it is false, this will not run, as we will soon see. So let's just take a practical example and see how it goes. Let's declare a variable called age. And set it equal to 18. So now our condition here can be if age is greater than 18, then what we want to do now to demonstrate it, when my condition was valid, you see that it took me to an indented line at 6. We can now maybe say print you are, sorry, you are eligible to vote. Eligible. Yep. So this print statement in here will only render or will only execute if this condition here, which is age being greater than 18, is true. So let us run it now and see. As you can see, process finished with exit code 0, which I told you, and I've been telling you that whenever you see exit code 0, that means that your program was successful. But we are not seeing anything printed to our terminal. There's no, like, we have not made any syntax error with our code. Just that this our condition did not evaluate to true. So age, which is equal to 18, is not greater than 18. But if I should now add one more, so greater than or equal to 18, to check if the person is 18 years or older, that is when the person will be eligible to vote. So now if I run this, I should see that statement printed to my terminal for me. And that was only so because this condition here was true. And so that is the basic syntax of the if statement. So whatever is here, so if I change this one here and I'll put actual false here, is that immediately PyCharm even gives me some warning that this code is unreachable. That is because this condition here is already false. So no matter what, it will never print that particular statement for me. And at the same time, if I change it to true, it will always print it because this place is true. So what I'm trying to say by this true false stuff I replace here is that whatever that we put here will be evaluated and the output should either be true or false. And depending on whether it's true or false, that is when this one will render. If it is only true, then it will render. Okay, so I think we can take it a step further. Now that we know that that's the basic syntax of the if statement, we can also have if and if else statements. But the creator of Python just wanted to make things simpler, so we made it elif. So the elif, which is also the short form for else if. In case there are more than one condition you have to check, then if what is in the if does not evaluate to true, the code can fall on the if else statement. So, or let me first talk of the else statement. I think that would be more appropriate. There is also the else statement. And so we can now say else. That particular else is not indented like this. It is on the same line with the if statement. So that one too is also terminated with a colon. And then now I can say print you are not eligible to vote. What our code here is saying is that if the person's age is 18 or above, print you are eligible to vote. And then we are now giving a condition to be rendered when this one here is not true. So in the case where our age, the person's age is now 17, when we run the code, at first, when there was no else statement, all we would have seen was exit code 0 and then nothing else. But now we have another statement rendered here that says you are not eligible to vote. Yes, so that is also the purpose of the else statement. So in case what we just, the if statement renders to false, it now falls on the else statement. So kind of a fallback function or something, a fallback statement if what is above is not true. But it turns out that in between the if and then the else, in some cases we might have to like check multiple stuff. So it depends on what you are doing and creating at the time. You may have to check multiple conditions, and there can be a lot of them. Yeah, from experience, I can say so. And so if there are lots of them, how do we then render all of them in here? That is where the elif statement comes in. So maybe I will change from age to another thing that will give me more conditions. And so I can say, maybe you can use a person's grade or score. So like let the exam score be equal to say 89. And then you want to do some grading. And so I can say if score, let's just assume that for a person to pass, the person needs 50 and above. So if it is greater than or equal to, 50, that is only when we print that, okay, you had a pass. Now when you run this, yes, when you run it, it will evaluate to true that the person had a pass. You can see here that, fine, 50 and 89, there is a very big gap in between them. And so what we have to do here is that in order to catch all of them, let's try and declare them up here. So maybe 80 to 100 should be the A, and 70 to 80, to 80, let's give that one to B, and then 60 that one too should be a C, and 50 to 60 be a D, and then anything below, okay, so maybe 40 to 52 should be pass, and anything below 40 should be an F. So 40 to 50, pass, and anything below 40 should be an F. Okay. Maybe this one too can be E, so that we just see that we now have all of them. So we are trying to write conditions that will fulfill all of these. And so this is how we can go about it with the decision making. First, we can say if score is greater than, greater than 80, then we can print you have had an A. So in this case, now when we run it, our result will be that the person had an A. Okay, but if we change this 89 to say 79 now, we shouldn't see anything at our terminal, but just a process exit code 0, because we have not yet declared the condition for the 79. So let us go ahead, and then now instead of else, we will just say elif, and then we will now also write another condition. Or should now be greater than 70. Then let me keep an eye here. Okay, no comments. I can print you had a B. So to continue with the rest, I will have to be using elif for all of them. So another elif for the next condition, which is C, 60 to 70. So I can say if score is greater than 60, greater than 60, let me just duplicate these lines because I know you get what I'm trying to do. And then this should be 50. We should have one for, and this should be D. And then we should have one also for 40. That is when the person passed, so that one should be the E. And then we have one more condition, which is the below 40. We can use another elif statement here and say if it is now less than 40, we should print that the person had an F. It will work. And in fact, we can try it by changing this to, say, 39 and then running it. So it says the person had an F. But usually what you will see in most codes, like, and best practice recommended ways, is that if this is the last condition that you think you will ever want to evaluate, then instead of typing the full condition here like this, you can just put the else statement here, which also means that this should be the fallback or the default call if all of the above fails. So you can just change it to an else and it will still work like the elif did work. So you can choose between the two, but this is the recommended way of doing it. Now, I know maybe you will be thinking, now these are ranges, but I just put single numbers here. So from the 80 to 100, I just put 80 here. So something will happen if I change my score to 105. It will still say I had an A, even though 105 fine, somebody can get it by, mostly they mark it out of 100. And so I will have to now, instead of using what is at or the upper values of the range, I have to now use the operators and the operators that we learned now to declare a range. So instead of score only being greater than 80, I can now say if score is greater than 80 and score is less than 100. This and there are other ones. I think there's another one called or. They are, if you put your cursor on it, you see that PyCharm tells us that they are Boolean operators. So and, or, and the not, they are just used for, also they are for comparison and all those things. But yes, that's their name, Boolean operators. PyCharm is saying that it can simplify my code for me. Now, if I run this code, I'm expecting it to tell me that I had an F. Okay, it fell on the B, sorry. Okay, because this condition is also greater than 70. And so since it found out that the 105 was not within this range, but could be fulfilled on this condition, it actually did run the second condition. I'm sorry about that. But what I was trying to, if I should do it for all of them here, so 70, let me copy this line and then paste it. So now this one should be 80. Okay. So in this case, when I run it again, I think it will fall on line 16 and then throw us to C. So how you declare your conditions, they really, really matter. You have to really know how to put the conditions such that no matter the scenario, you'll be able to catch it. Especially when you are building very complex systems, maybe for authentication or something like that. These places, you have to really take good care about it. Other than that, you may have to encounter a lot of bugs. PyCharm is saying that it can simplify it for me, but I think this is more readable, where I say score is greater than 80 and score is less than 100. But let's see the simplified chain expression that it will give to us. Now, this is how PyCharm simplifies it. This code is also correct, just like the first one that I just simplified. So now it puts 80 here, puts 100 here, and the score in between them, which is also correct because now it will read if 80, or now it will read like if score is greater than 80 and that same score is less than 100, then print this condition. So I'll go ahead and simplify this one also. And then go ahead and then look at this style, and maybe I can just copy it and then paste it for all of them. But this will be 60 and this will be 70. And this will be 50 and this will be 60. And this one also 40, 50. Okay, I just don't hope that this is confusing at all. We are just trying to check the conditions. So if is it between 80 and 100 or between 70 and 80? Is it between 60 and 70? Just that is what we are trying to check. So now that we have conditions for all of them, let's still check our 105. You see that now it tells us that we have an F, which is not also true. So I'm just trying to introduce all of these small, should I say, error or bugs, so that when you are writing conditions, you actually know how to write them well. Because if you just assume that, okay, fine, I've declared it and like this, somebody can just test your code with just one value and then everything will expose you. Just like I may structure the assignments to be. So I'm just taking my time to teach you all these tricks so that you'll be able to catch every condition, in fact, every possible thing that the user will throw at your code as much as you can. So now we have to now declare one more condition here, elif, but that one should also be here. And then now we can say score is less than 40. That is all we are looking for. If score is less than 40, that is where we will print that you had an F. But in the else statement, I have shown us here now that our user can throw almost anything at our code. So even if we want to declare conditions for every possible user experience or whatever the user will throw at the code, that will not really be possible because you cannot think of everybody that will use your systems or your software. And so after that, you think you have declared all that you have to do. Now you can put any other statements inside this else. In fact, I can say maybe I think this place, let me just put 0 here also so that I know that that is also between 0 and 40. Then maybe I can say something like your score is not between 0 and 100, something like this. So in the case where the person enters anything that is not within the range, that is what will be shown to the user. So if I also decide to put a negative value here, say -1, which is also valid because it will be used for the decision, it also tells me that my score is not between 0 and 100. Now, if I did not bring this one here initially, this 0 that I added here, if I delete it, then there's that possibility that to print that we had an F even with a -1. Well, somebody might have negative score, but ideally that is out of context. So I think it is best that we still catch that particular condition here. Okay. Once again, I still hope that this is not confusing. And that is it with the if elif statements. We just have a condition followed by the statement, and in here we can do anything we want to do. It doesn't just end with numbers or anything like that. I can actually maybe we should take a last example which doesn't use numbers, so we will not really see the greater than, less than, but other types of operators. Smart question. What if the user enters 80? So let's see. Okay, that is great. It's something that escaped me. I will not deny that. But I'm glad you've brought it up. So you see, I'm sure you are beginning now to appreciate how delicate some of these development processes are. When you have to try and write algorithms that will, like, imagine yourself in any tech company writing software for a global audience, like beginning to think like how every user might approach the software. I remember, I think 2023, my team and I made some software for the students. And during the testing phase, the development phase, there was this particular error I never saw. But when I went to one of the lecture halls to demonstrate the software, I just tried to perform an operation and an error occurred on the screen. I've never seen that error throughout the development. That it wasn't like 6 months or so or 7 months in the development. During the testing, I had not seen the error anywhere, but it just popped up. The only thing that saved us was that we had written a condition that will catch any other error, any other thing that will come up. So you can think of that one as the else here. So we wrote a condition to catch it. Other than that, it would have been a big disgrace for the most hyped software. And so, yes, I'm glad you've drawn my attention to that. So let us see how now we can fix this particular issue. Okay. So now if it is 80, then I'm supposing that if 70 also, it will tell us that the range is off or something like that. Okay. So we can use the equal sign. So now I can say if it is less than or equal to 80, but greater than or equal to 80, sorry, but less than 100, it should give me an A. So in this case, when I run it now, it will tell me that I had an A. So it appears that for this particular piece of logic, the fix is not really a difficult thing to do. We just have to put equal signs at the end of all of these ones that we have. And then we'll be able to catch the numbers on this particular side also. So now if I put 50 also, it should tell me the exact score that 50 will give me. Okay, which is a D. Let me verify. Yes, 50 is a D. Okay. So I said that we are taking another example, I think the last one, which will not use numbers like this. We try and use some text so that we see the kind of operators we can use on text if we want to use text values, sorry, string values for decision making. Now you know that these numbers will also work with floats also, so that one is not a problem. 59.99 is still less than 60. That is why I'm saying that I had a D. Okay. So I'll delete this grid and score. In fact, everything should go. And then now we can say weather or something like that. Initially, let's set it to code. And then now we want to check the weather conditions and do something when the weather is depend on the weather. So we can now say that if weather, and I told you initially that if you want to check equality for strings, we use double equal sign. So we can say now that if weather equal to cold, then we can say maybe print from yourself by the far side. That is when it is cold. What if it is actually hot? So elif weather is now equal to say hot. Then we can say print maybe turn on your air conditioner. Okay. And what other condition can the weather be in? I think I've really simplified it into the two of them. Maybe I can choose mild, if that is a condition actually, just for demonstration. If weather is mild, what will you do? Okay, let me just take this suggestion that Python is giving. And then now we want to catch our else. The else we will print that, sorry, it looks like Earth is not, it's not familiar with your weather. Okay, so that means the person may be coming from Mars. We are assuming that the person is coming from Mars or Jupiter or somewhere there. So now we can run our code. In fact, to make it even more interactive, let me cast this one into an input. So to be an input where you to say enter your current weather state or condition. Let me pick this one. So now when I run it, and then let me just say cold. So it tells me that I should warm myself by the fireside, which is evaluating because I actually type code. If I run it again and do the test for mild, it will tell me to turn off my air conditioner, which is the condition on the mild. If I run it again, do the test for something else, it now tells me that, sorry, my weather, Earth, the planet is not really familiar with my weather. So if I test it with hot, it will actually print what is under it. That one too is evaluated. So that is it. Also, if you want to use strings, and if I should let me comment out this one. I just want to show you another operator. I can say if weather is not equal to code. In the case where I want to check if weather is not equal to code, this is how I'll put it. So if weather is not equal to code, then what should we do? Maybe we can print your weather is not code. Just to show you the not equal to also. So if I should type code, now our else statement, we didn't change it, but if I type code, it will tell me that it is not familiar with my weather. And that is because you're supposed to change it here to, if it is not code, that means the else should be for when it is code. This if is checking for if it is not code. That means our else will be for when it is code. So that one can be turn on your conditioner. So run it. And then if I type code, it tells me to turn on my air conditioner because it is falling on this else, which is the fallback for the if. And if I run it now and enter anything that is not code, so something else, it tells me that my weather is not cold. So in case you want to check for the not equal, that is how you do it also. Okay. You have seen that all that we are doing under these conditions is to print stuff, but we can do more than printing. In fact, let's just build a simple console calculator. I think that should be the last thing we do. And then we can close chapter on today. So I can say first number that equals to, it will be an input because we'll be taking it from the user. And then you remember that I can easily convert this one to a float by wrapping it up and saying float. So that we are coming to perform numerical operations. So I just want to be safe. And in here, I can just say enter the first number. Second number, okay, let me just take Python suggestion so that we move fast. And then I'm not taking a third number. The operator will also be an input, and I promise you I will not use it by you input, and then but this one we want to take it as a string, so no, we will not cast it to anything. So we can just say enter the operator. Okay. Now we want to perform addition, subtraction, Multiplication. And which one again? Division and exponentiation. Oh, forgive my typing this evening. Okay, so these are PyCharm is suggesting, but I'll not mind it, don't worry. So if operator equal to plus, if the person types plus as the operator, then now you see that we are not coming to print. You just say result equal to first number plus second number. So this one we are actually performing logic inside the condition other than the first one that was just printing stuff. And so now that we have performed our analysis or whatever we want to do, that's when we can now print the result is, but I will not take what it is saying because I promise not to. The result is, and then remember that when I do this way to automatically leave a space after the colon for me, so I don't have to worry myself with it. So this is for the addition. For the subtraction, I will say elif operator equal to, let me just be consistent with the quotes. Then I can now also say that result equal to first number minus the second number. So, and then I can print the result as result. Permit me to take this one now. Because I know you get what I'm trying to do. So I can safely copy this elif because I know apart from the subtraction, we have multiplication, division, and exponentiation. And then let me start. This is the subtraction. So now we go to the multiplication, which is the asterisk. And here I have to change this place also to the asterisk. And then there is the division, so a backslash. And then I change this place to the backslash. Then we come to the exponentiation. That one is double asterisk. And so I just put double asterisks here. Now, if you're wondering why I did not put else here, if I put else here, if I put the exponentiation in an else, and for instance, oh, I should do it. Let me just put it in an else statement and then run our code. Now, if I put something that is not even part of our operators, like some other text. Oh, first number, sorry. The first number, let it be 2. The second number, 3. And the operator be some other text. You and I know that, oh, sorry about the typo. You and I know that this is not any operator in mathematics. But because I put my exponentiation in the else, that will be the fallback for anything that the user enters that is not in what we have given. And that is why I did not put it in the else. In this case for the else, but in any case, you see that the result is correct because 2 exponent 3 is actually 8. But we gave it a wrong input to get a correct answer. And that is a very bad way to write code or software, anything like that. So usually you don't want to always put your last statement in the else. That is not how it works. If that's how you got the explanation earlier, forgive me, but that is not how it always works. Get all the conditions that you have in mind, and then you write another condition to catch everything that the user may bring in. So in our case, we still had the exponentiation in mind, and then now our else can come in, say maybe print invalid operator. Something like that. Or maybe operator is not in our list or something like that. So now if I run again, let me do what I just did. 3, and then some other text. Now it tells me invalid operator. And so that makes our scripts more intelligent. So we can go ahead and test now our scripts here. Let me test first. We have already tested the exponent, even though not by the right way, but we know that it works. So I'll test the division with 12 and then 3, and I'll enter the backslash, and then the result is 4 as I anticipated it to be. So I'll not go ahead and test each and every condition because I know you know that it works. I just wanted to show you that other than just the print statement that we're using to print, turn on your air conditioner and then you are eligible to vote and all that, you can actually perform a whole logic inside a condition. So as we go along, you find out that we can do anything, any logic Python code can go under the condition, so that we use it for what we want it to do. Okay. So that will be it for the else or decision making. Let me put it all of them together in Python. I hope it was not so difficult to follow. If you have any concerns before I end the stream, as I always do, a minute or two to address your questions on air or your live questions. Other than that, we will close chapter on today and anticipate for day 7. Okay, I think there are no questions. But if you have a question after I end the stream, I'll still be in the studio for a while. So if you still want me to answer the question in the studio, I'll not leave the studio immediately. So you can still type your question in there and I'll see it. Please, are the operators in inverted commas not strings? Inverted comma. You mean this quotes? Yes, if these are the ones you are talking about, what is inside the double quotes? Yes, they are strings. And when we were doing operators, I mentioned that if you want to check whether two strings are equal, we can use the double equal sign. So that is what we are trying to do here. So, and you know also that the input, the output of the input. Okay, I'll come to the next question also. So the output of input is a string. So if I type plus inside the terminal, it will be like if, no, not operator now, if plus equal to plus. So what happened for if I should type two numbers and type plus to add them, what will happen when this code have all been evaluated is that this operator here will be replaced with whatever I give it here. In the case that it is plus, this plus is the same as this plus. So the condition will evaluate to true. So yes, they are strings. So that is why I said, before I even came here, I said that we have already done it with numbers. So this one was specifically for strings and how we can compare them also. And also to show you that we can put more than the print statement under a particular condition. I hope I've been able to answer your question well. The next one is saying the results repeat in the example is Python analyzing each under each code. Okay, this is what is happening. When we do this decision making in advance, I'll explain things further. But now let me just try and then give a foretaste of what that live session or that day will also be. Now, you see that it only evaluates one of them. Only one of them will get printed to the terminal. So when I enter, I'll skip the plus and then now use the multiplication. So let me give a number like 2, 5, and then asterisk. I get 10. Okay, so this is what's happened. I told you that Python runs from top to bottom. So when it got to line 9, it realized that there was a condition. It checked it, and this place evaluated to false. Once this is evaluated to false, none of the things inside here will not even look at any of them. It will just skip straight to the next condition, which is line 12. So once 9 evaluates to false, that one should go away. Once this 9 here evaluates to false, it will not check anything here. All the things here, it will not even look at it. It will not look at what they are. Sorry, I'm just trying to draw. And it's a bit difficult. Let me bring up the red. What I've circled in red, which is the code under the first condition. If the first condition is false, it will not even look at this code at all. It will just skip it straight to this line, which is the next condition. And then if it finds out that this condition also is false, all of this one here, it will skip it. And then it will come to 15 and check, is the condition here true? So that means did the user enter an asterisk like I did? If this one evaluates to true, then it will render or go ahead and then evaluate all the things that are in here and then perform the actions we want it to perform. After it is done, it will break out. So it will not, if it gets only one of them to be true, in our case, in this particular decision we are making, if it gets just one of these to be true, which in our case, this one was true, it will not look at all of these. None of them will render. It will just break out of the script or the code. I don't know whether I've been able to explain it well. But as I said, when we take this decision making further, you realize that there is a way to render multiple decisions. There's a way we actually structure it so that if you want maybe 2 or more of them to render, they will actually render. But if you want to put that one to for today, we will far exceed our time. That is why I'm scheduling it for another day. But for the purpose of answering your question, I hope you have the understanding I'm trying to give. Only one of them will render, and that is the one which evaluates to true. Once it gets it, it forgets about all the rest. And so if it goes through all of them and it doesn't get any of them, then the go-to or the fallback is the else statement, and that one will render. So if all of these were false, that means the else is automatically true. But if all of them before this double asterisk condition were false and the double asterisk condition becomes true, it will evaluate what is here and then it will not go to the else because it has gotten one true statement. Okay. So yes, let me leave it for 1 minute if there are questions. If there are no questions, I will close chapter on it and then we can anticipate for day 6. Okay. I believe you are all good. But as I said, if you still want me to address your question, I'll be in the studio for about 5 minutes or maybe 10, 15, 20 before I finally close the studio software. So you can drop your questions. I'll still be around. Thank you for your time today, too. It's been a wonderful session as usual. And I'll see you all tomorrow for day 6. Bye.